Good afternoon and welcome to Have a Chat. I'm Audrey Lynch with my co-star Judy Loge. Good afternoon, Judy. How are you?
Hello, Audrey. It is afternoon.
Yes.
I had a busy morning, so it seems like half the day has been gone, but here we are.
Yeah. The weather's been beautiful thus far. Today we woke up to a little more cloudy, rainy, drizzly day, but the temperature's not that bad. So
Warm enough, and we need the rain.
We do.
We have to be
really
positive and accept that we're just getting rain and no flooding, so we're grateful for
That's
this.
just it. I don't think I mowed my lawn the whole month of August.
It was dry,
I really don't.
It was
No,
dry.
That's just it.
Yes.
We've got a great show lined up for our viewers today, so stay tuned for sure. We have some great guests and great subject matters that we're going to be talking about today for sure.
Yes.
Veronique's not with us today, and we don't mind that a whole lot because apparently she has a really bad cold.
Really bad cold.
And she didn't want to share it with us, so we want to thank her for that.
Yeah, thanks, Veronique, because we don't need it.
No.
And the proximity would probably be saying that we're going to get it. So
no, exactly. I actually sort of wish she was here because I think if she's listening or watching, the thought-provoking questions that I'm going to be asking as part of our quick chat portion of the show, I'd like her thoughts and opinions because she's not a mom. So I'd like to know what her thoughts are on these questions. So hopefully she's listening and she'll hear because that's how we're going to start off our show today.
Okay.
You ready?
I guess I'm it. I guess I'm the one getting the questions.
So I was thinking really hard questions that I thought were a dilemma for me. Like I could toggle back and forth with what I thought was right or moral or what I would do in this situation. So in a nutshell, the phrase that came to mind is, would you create life to save life? So before you answer, here's the situation that you have a child who has found out that they're ill in some way, shape, or form, and it would be life-threatening. But giving birth to another child that had a donor was a match in some way that could save your firstborn's life. Would you create a life to save a life? Is that a moral thing or?
I'm not quite sure of the question. So
Okay. Your firstborn child is ill.
Yep.
Ill. And you would need a donor of some kind, whether it's blood or stem cells, in order to save this child's life. And there are none.
Okay.
But you giving birth to a second child could potentially save your firstborn's life. Do you have that child?
Yes.
I know, right?
I
We're
say
moms.
yes. I say yes, I do.
Exactly.
I had to think about that.
Yes. Well, because there's people out there that think that that would be an immoral thing to just have that child for the sole purpose of saving the firstborn.
Agree.
Right?
Yes.
Or another child within the family. So, but as mom, we're already moms and we're already there and we have more than one child.
That's right.
For me, it's a quick answer too.
Yes, I'm a quick answer once I realized how I was thinking about it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So
I would.
I'm not exactly sure about our viewers out there, what their thoughts are on that. We'd love to hear from them on our Facebook page. But I don't feel like it is bringing life into this world to me is never a mistake.
Never.
No. So, that's the way I look at it there. And if that potential is there for them to be able to donate blood or donate whatever in order to, it's a toggle back and forth. I really think there's some people out there that would say that because the newborn child wouldn't have a say on whether or not they wanted to donate their bone marrow.
That's right. So we have to be the voice.
That's right.
We have to be the voice.
That's for that child, right?
Yep.
So that was one of my.
Thanks for sticking me with that. First thing on Monday, Audrey. It couldn't be like something easy.
That's just it.
That's
well, the second thought-provoking question I have is actually not any easier.
Oh my God, Audrey!
I'm afraid I stayed within the same realm. So you have an animal that is sick, right? And in most cases, it is thought and believed that to let that animal suffer would be inhumane.
Yes.
So we would have that animal put down. Right?
Yes.
But we don't allow that to happen with humans who would potentially have the same fate. I have this comes to to mind to me because I have a number of clients who sit in my chair who are nurses, and they tell me stories and the struggles of, looking after patients who are, not well and they're terminal and things like that, and how hard it is to go through
suffering
how
tremendously.
they're suffering tremendously. And they, like, when they relate it to animals and say, that it's considered inhumane to allow them to suffer, but we would do it to a family member.
I know.
So where do you sit on that? Especially, I don't know if you could even answer that one, because that one's really tough as well. Because I think it would depend on the situation.
I think so. I believe that we're meant to suffer in life. I bet as far as the exceptional joys that we experience, I think we're meant as human beings brought into this life.
Because religion comes into play.
Yeah, religion does come into play. And it's really weird because my sister in Toronto said that when she watched us talking about transgendering and me being such a strong spiritual person, she was shocked at how open I was to that. However, I had to look at it in so many different ways, and that was our topic one week. I am very religious. However, I cannot stand to see a person in their body suffering in the way that they cannot identify with the gender they were born with. So I can say that maybe God would say to that person, I created you, but I'm loving you so much that I will allow you to change. I love you so much that I will allow you to do what you want to do with the life I've given you. Now, I have a dog. I love the dog dearly, 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 dearly. And she can almost communicate. She's so smart. If she was suffering, there's no question, as much as I would hate it and be devastated to let her go, I could not watch her suffer. My parents are religious as well, so I'm going to use my parents as an example. I think just looking at them and their same outlook that I have on life, that you're given a life and you're meant to suffer, whether it be during your life or near the end of your life, last days, that you're going to be taken when God wants you to be taken. I'm not for euthanasia.
You're not for it?
No. I believe that I can't, it would terribly bother me to watch someone suffering. I've watched it. I've watched family members on morphine. I've watched people struggling with their last breath. I realize that they're going to suffer, but when they're gone, in my belief, they're going to a much, much better place. So if you can just hang on to that excruciating pain.
I'm sorry.
Hang on to the excruciating pain, because it's not going to be forever. It's going to be a lasting pain. It could be months. It could be weeks. It could be a year that they suffer like that. But it's not going to be forever, never, 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 unless you're a young person. Then that changes circumstances again. Then you have to look at it again.
Exactly.
And say that's different.
I also turn around and try to think of it, because I sat with my grandfather his last days and watched him suffer and things like that. And I, too, consider myself to be quite religious, and I know what the Bible says about these things. Though to sit there and watch that and go through that, my take on it after it was all said and done was, I don't want to have anyone see me suffer like that, nor do I care to suffer like that either. And that I would, if I needed to put in place whatever in writing so that that didn't happen by that time,
you would say it.
I would.
Okay,
I would, I would relinquish my rights to, so that there was no pain and suffering if there was no other.
I know.
You know what I mean?
It's religion for me, Audrey. It comes right down to that. Yeah, I know that someday I could suffer just as poorly and badly as the people I've watched in extreme pain. But if that's what my destiny is, and that's what my last days are going to be, that's what they're going to be. Yeah.
But I'm like you too.
And then I'll be out of pain eventually.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a real tough call.
No, it is. It is, because I also believe that, I believe in God as well, and in God's time, not your own. Right? That you don't get to pick and choose.
And there's nothing worse than suffering, and I hate to watch it.
No, exactly. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That was really light, very light. I need a drink of water now.
So we'll have to check in with Veronique. Maybe she's messaging us and let us know what her thoughts are on those thought-provoking questions.
They were very thought-provoking.
Definitely. I want to change things to a lighter note. I want to say hi to Bob, who watches us every Monday. I've bumped into him a couple of times now, once at the gym, and he stopped me to say that he loves our show. Good. He watches all the time, so I wanted to say hi to Bob. and all of our viewers that have been watching us and sticking with us, because we're going on 3 years.
Hard to
and
believe.
It's been, I think we have quite that. And you keep telling me, I want to mention Colleen. I want to say hi to Colleen, who's your sister, my personal fan.
Yes.
That,
she's so true to the show.
She's true to the show as well. Exactly. That's just it. So we just wanted to say a quick hello to all our fans and all our viewers and say thanks for watching. We love you too.
We do too.
Yeah.
And my mother's birthday's coming up this September 23rd, which is next Saturday night.
Oh.
So
Big bash?
Wonderful. I don't know, because I'm so committed to an event that night that I have to either make it up early or late to my mom.
Okay.
But I have her beautiful present, so if that's, a little hint what's coming, she'll be excited.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We were very fortunate. My mom and dad and I got to spend the whole past weekend together. Not the whole thing. Well, basically, we went away Thursday to PEI.
Okay.
And we went to see the $1 Million Quartet at the Confederation Center.
Which was a huge play.
It was huge, and it was a huge hit.
Okay.
It's been playing since June, and the crowds are just filling into the center every evening.
So what's it about?
It's about the story of the musicians coming together for one big jam. Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley, and Jerry Lee Lewis. Now, I have to say that it was phenomenal, but the standout for me, and I think for everybody, mostly that attended that I've spoken to, was Jerry Lee Lewis. He was nothing short of phenomenal.
Really?
I've seen the movie starring Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yes.
And the way this guy could play the piano and sing was incredible, Audrey. In fact, he won a 2016 World Broadway Award.
Oh, you're
That's
kidding.
how phenomenal he was. His name's Jeffrey. It's Jefferson McDonald, and he's from Romulus, New York. And he's young. And I, in all of my years of watching theater and seeing movies, everything, I think he's probably one of the top talents I've ever seen.
Oh, you're kidding. And he did a fabulous job, I'm taking him, doing Jerry Lee Lewis.
It was incredible.
You're kidding.
You would think it was Jerry Lee Lewis.
You're kidding.
But I loved it all. And just spending that quality time with my parents and dining with them and in the car and laughing and shopping and being with my mom and dad. I mean, I'm very blessed to have my mom and dad. I have friends that have lost their mom and dad at very young ages.
Exactly.
And my dad himself lost his mom when he was only 2. And I believe I was 6 when my paternal grandfather passed. So he doesn't know what it's like to have a mom. And he certainly was a young man when he lost his father. So
to have that, to enjoy.
To my parents.
Yes, definitely, most definitely. We want to chit-chat about the Emmys were last night. You got a chance to catch a glimpse of it.
Glimpses.
I haven't been too up on the news and the shows and different things that are going on lately. Really busy with work. But the Emmys, bringing up the Emmys, I wanted to ask our viewers, because I've had a friend of mine recently tell me that I look like and act like and sound like Sarah Silverman, the comedian.
I've never really paid attention to her a lot as far as her voice and mannerisms go.
Right.
And I can see the physical similarities, the coloring.
The dark hair and the dark eyes.
Some features, but I wouldn't compare you. You're much more lovely.
No,
Sorry,
I did watch
Sarah.
her. I did watch her.
If you're listening, Sarah.
I did watch her on a talk show, and I think that's how animated I am when I talk and tell stories. I think that's what relates us together, that she thought that I looked or sounded like her.
Sure,
so, but I do consider it a compliment, because I think
Yes.
Sarah's quite beautiful.
Well, I'll give you a better compliment. You're more beautiful. How's that?
Thanks so much.
Yes.
So you said Jane Fonda was on the show.
Oh my goodness, Jane
How old?
Fonda, 79, and she's rocking it.
She totally is.
Woo! She was in a Calvin Klein hot pink number, and she had a
Really?
long blonde ponytail, and of course her figure is fantastic. And here's another question that you can say, would you or would you not? No, but for her, the stuff that she's done to enhance her face, some of it's just god awful. When you look at the celebrities and people out there, it's just too much, too often, too big, whatever. She's very tastefully worked on. Can I say that?
Yes,
because
definitely.
at 79, there's no darn
It's
way
not
that
overdone.
she hasn't been worked on. I'm sorry.
No.
But it's very classy in a very demure way, and she looked amazing.
No. Well, I watch her new show
Oh, do
on
you?
Netflix. Yeah, I'm in season 3 of Grace and Frankie, which I told you you've got to catch a glimpse of.
I have not
It's
seen that
absolutely
show.
hilarious.
Yes.
It's based on the premise that her and her co-star, and her name's going to escape me.
I
It
still
totally
don't
is.
watch it, so I can't help
But
you.
they're 70 years old, and their husbands have left them because they fell in love with each other. The men did.
Oh, that's
so now they're
interesting.
single and 70, and back into possibly and potentially dating again at
That's
70 years
good.
old.
Must be funny.
So, yeah, it is absolutely hilarious. You've got to take a look at that.
It blows my mind, the memories of these people too, like Betty White and these older people and Robert Redford that can still memorize line upon line and just deliver in such a young way. It's not like they're old people, you know, playing. No. They're older people and they have the mind of just young actors.
Exactly.
It blows me away.
Fantastic.
But the dresses, like I thought she was a standout. I thought Nicole Kidman's dress was beautiful too.
And she won for her
Big Little Lies. I heard that was fantastic. Yeah. And it's directed by a man from Quebec, and he's actually from Montreal, but he's in the Hollywood scene big time now. Oh, and he's just going from one to the other to the other to the other, like big movies. He's doing phenomenally well. What was the one with that one Jared Leto and McConaughey a few years ago? Was it the Dallas Buyers Club? Is that what it's called?
Oh, yes, I think so.
Okay, he directed that, and he's directed quite a few. But this show was a series on television, and it made it really big with Reese Witherspoon.
This is how I decide what I'm going to start watching, because I look at who won and what won, and I'm like, I don't recall seeing or hearing of these shows, but because of that, I will get into them and have some great things to watch on television.
And Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yes.
She's now the owner of 8 Emmy Awards, 6 of which are for Veep, her TV show.
Really?
So congratulations to her.
Yes.
And I thought Juliana Hough and Hilaria Baldwin, Alex Baldwin's wife, looked beautiful on the red carpet as well.
Really?
Yeah, there were some stunning ones. And the worst dress, I'm sorry, had to be Heidi Klum.
You said.
Heidi Klum.
I'll have to Google that.
Just too much.
Out there?
Just hanging out. Yeah. Yeah. It's okay. She's a drop dead gorgeous woman, but the dress was, it just wasn't classy, and she could do much better.
Yeah, I think so too. And she's not super young anymore, kind of thing. So things are,
going a little bit south and west, a little bit.
Yes,
She's still amazing.
Well, before we go to break, I'm just going to quickly mention, because we've got some great guests coming up. We have Shawn Smith, who's going to be joining us next.
Yes.
But a few little tragedies that happened over in London.
Yes.
And then there was an acid attack, you were telling me,
That's
in
really
France.
gruesome,
so
that acid attack.
We just want to say our thoughts and prayers to everyone over there. If you're thinking of traveling over that way, think twice maybe.
Yeah, I've thought twice.
I don't think it's as safe.
I'm not really going. I want to go to London really badly, but I'm not, because they had another bombing incident on 30 people injured. Thankfully, no fatalities. Rush hour on Friday in London on a train.
That's terrifying.
It's terrifying. And then in Marseille, France, they had an acid attack of 4 young American women, all in their 20s, and it was not terrorism. First thing people think of when they think of that. It was the dear woman was mentally deranged, and she actually had this acid, and she threw it at them, and I believe they were getting on a train.
Oh, you're kidding.
So they're okay, but one has eye injuries, and they're in shock.
Oh, for goodness sakes. That's awful. Well, don't go away. We're going to be back with more Have a Chat after the break, and joining us will be Shawn Smith from Don't Diss My Ability. Don't go away. We'll be back with more. Welcome back to Have a Chat. I'm Audrey with my co-star Judy, and joining us now is Shawn Smith. Hello, Shawn. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing great.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having me back.
Exactly.
I appreciate it.
It's been almost a year since you've been on the show with us.
That's right. This is my 3rd appearance, and the last time Judy made a point of saying that I was her favorite guest. I wanted to
really.
I wanted to reiterate that. To the viewers.
Okay, I'll repeat it. It's been just because you're so interesting. Your story to me has been so compelling. That's why.
And there's so much that's happened and going on since the last time we saw you as well. So
it's been a pretty wild ride.
But about you, yes, Audrey, because people wonder why I just think you're a fabulous guest. Tell us a little bit, in a nutshell, before you go on to detail about your new stuff, about you and your beginning, what you're all about as a young person.
Sure. So I'm the founder of Don't Diss My Ability, and I'm a counselor and psychotherapist by trade. But what I do isn't as interesting as how I got there. And so I was diagnosed with ADHD and attentive type at age 30. And so to give people an idea of what it was like before then, it took me 4 years to finish 3 years of high school, 32 attempts to earn the 18 credits required to graduate. I failed grade 10 math 4 times. Fast forward to being diagnosed at the age of 30, and I started taking prescription medication, which basically gave my brain the jump start it needed to take my thought process from dial-up to fiber op. I went back to school with upgrade as a mature student, literally went from the bottom of the class to the top. I was accepted to the Masters of Education program in counseling psychology at UNB in 2010. On academic probation, I graduated a year later at the top of my class.
See, that gives me goosebumps.
I know.
And
I know.
also unfortunate that you weren't diagnosed as a young person, that you still are young at 30, but as a child that's going through all this stuff, you would have been so much more able to progress had you been diagnosed at, say, 15, 14, 12, whatever.
Yes, but I really don't think of that a lot, Judy, because, I wouldn't trade my experiences, I wouldn't wish them on anyone, but I'm at a point now where I wouldn't trade them for the world either. Because they've shaped and kind of defined who I am, and the reason why I do what I do now is because of that long, torturous journey that I've
Very much
had.
so. I mean, just to even say, like, to fail math 4 times, to have that get up and go, to do it one more time and say, I don't know if I can do it, but you gave it your best shot.
I don't know that it was the get up and go. It was more the fear of what was going to happen. I mean, I experienced pretty extreme anxiety and depression because of this, right? And so a lot of my work now really is in supporting individuals, but through their families. So counseling that I do, most people think that I'm going to work with their kid, right? I don't work with a kid. I work with a parent. The kid's awesome. It's really trying to reframe and restructure things.
There's a lot of programs out there for them, but you want to gear things towards the family and how they can get through it and cope.
Well, and using my own personal insight and experience as kind of the catalyst for change, right? If you think of it from a disability lens, all of our resources, time, and energy have been spent on trying to shift, manipulate, and configure that square peg, right?
Yeah.
The square peg is awesome. It's not the square peg, so I describe my work as expanding the round hole. Yes. And that's where resources, time needs to be put in, is really in doing that.
So this is your business.
Correct.
And you are the sole owner of this business, the sole person. You don't have other people working for you.
That's correct.
Okay, so how do you, is it social media that you're able to, is that your main avenue for reaching out to people?
It has been, and it's not so much reaching out to people as it is just kind of doing my own thing, and I've kind of gotten discovered in the process. So it's been really cool. I had a publicist for the Oscars, Steve Rohr, who discovered me about a year ago. And he's been retweeting and sharing a lot of my stuff.
Wow.
And he's actually helped me prepare for a few of the interviews that I'm doing. So he's actually taken his time to invest in me because he believes in what I'm doing.
So do I.
And so that's led to different opportunities, like coming here. I went to Halifax for CTV last week, but I also ended up getting a paid podcast through an organization in the States. So I've had 4 guests so far. The first one was Amy Cosper, former editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur magazine, Stephen Shore, who's an autism expert, Stephen Rohr.
It's crazy.
It's exciting.
It gets better.
So it's when you put your story out there. That's what I meant. You weren't reaching out. You put your story out there, and they were so intrigued, like I was, and wowed by it all, that they just started contacting you.
Right. They just kind of gravitate towards me.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah. And so my last guest, which I'm very excited, was Dr. Temple Grandin.
Really?
Yeah. And so I'm actually going to be going to Florida at the end of the month, and I'm going to be presenting alongside of Temple Grandin.
So for those of us who don't know who that person is, who is it?
I do.
So Dr. Temple Grandin was at one time believed to be the most highly educated person on the autism spectrum. We know that not to be true now, but there was a movie made about her life. Claire Danes played her role in her biopic movie, and she revolutionized the cattle industry and how cows are slaughtered around the world.
Oh, okay.
So very, very unique, interesting mind, and a huge advocate for individuals on the autism spectrum.
I think it's just superb what he's been doing and how you're reaching out.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And so what's coming up?
All kinds of stuff. Still pushing kind of ahead on social media and doing a lot of interesting things there. Now people are actually paying me to help them with their social media strategy, which is pretty cool.
It's always nice when things get so far that you can actually enjoy what you're doing and make a living at it at the same time, right?
And still plugging away at that. And I'm developing an online parenting course for parents of neurodiverse children. So parents of children who are on the autism spectrum with ADHD, learning disabilities, other invisible disabilities, to really help them learn to be better parents. And it's not that they don't want to be,
No,
you know, when
it's a huge struggle.
It is, and for our parents, you know, every generation vows to do something different than the last. Our parents were maybe a little too heavy-handed. The next generation, not so much.
Not so much.
But kind of in the absence of what not to do, we didn't really learn what to do.
No, and I would have to totally agree with that. Just to go back to my own personal experience, who my oldest of 4, when I had my second born, I actually had someone come in because I thought I was a horrible parent.
Right.
I can't get a handle on this child, just wild, and would go from 0 to 60 with his temper, with trying to do anything. And you know, and the second one was she was picking up everything and learning, and I had read every book on parenting and raising and all of that, and he wasn't fitting into this, you know, the round hole at all. And then had someone come in and run some tests, not that it's a blood test, it's just a questionnaire, and tell me that he was ADHD. And then I'm like, okay. But then I had to do all my own hunting and researching and finding out, because they just give you the diagnosis. Here's some medication that could potentially help, which I had to go through 2 or 3 different things to try and find what worked for him. And at the same time, from myself and my husband to then argue and disagree with how, like, just for us to be able to parent or
What's
co-parent
good,
together,
what's wrong,
what
what's
he believed
right,
and what I believed, all of a sudden everything has changed, because you know, I don't want to drug my child and I want to see the best for him. I don't want. It was crazy. It was a lot of, like, if you had been around back
Training
then,
and
no,
hard
seriously,
work.
if there was something like that back then, because besides being given a little handbook to understand his behavior, there was no, okay, here's what you got to do so that he can be the best possible person he can be with everything that's going on.
The resources just were not what you
instead
want
of trying
needed.
to make him fit into the norm of, you know.
Right. And so when people tell me that they've read all these books, I encourage them to just stop. Right?
It's overwhelming.
Well, but it's also, when you think of a fad diet, like, people are selling a product. Well, you know, this is what they're selling. And so parents are reading these books, these resources, and when they don't get the results that you know they were told they would get by following the instructions in this book, then there's the guilt, shame, all of these things, right?
Failure, you feel like you failed somehow.
Exactly. So what I'm doing with Don't Diss My Ability is using my own personal experiences of recognizing that I have very unique gifts, and so focusing on individuals' gifts rather than these perceived deficits, right? So when you think of it from a child's perspective, when all you're ever told is what you do wrong by the people who should love and support you the most, how could you ever do anything right?
There you go.
And so when you think of the long-term effects that these kids are experiencing, anxiety, depression, all of these things.
And it's so increasing.
Oh,
I was talking to a teacher recently of a large high school, and they said it was just phenomenal. The kids are dealing with all these different issues that, I mean, we had them, you know, somewhat, of course, growing up all around us, our friends that we may or may not have known that experienced it, but now it's just every other one is trying to cope with something.
Well, and the reality is, you know, when people tell me that ADHD is overdiagnosed, I challenge them. It's underdiagnosed.
I think so.
But it's the shift in thinking that, you know, people think that it's a sentence, right? But the reality is a diagnosis is now perceived to be a broken part of a machine that once identified could be fixed.
Well,
but
that's
we don't
the way
need
I
fixing.
look at it. Whereas in my husband was like, I don't, you know, he almost was in denial. Like, I don't want to hear that my child has something wrong with them. Right? Where I was like, okay, we know what it is. Let's fix it. Right? So we were on two opposite ends, for sure.
Tension. That brings tension into the
It
marriage.
does. It's the strain on the marriage
and a couple.
itself.
Totally.
It was. It really was.
Now, how is being a parent of, you have 2 boys?
No, I have a son and a daughter.
So their story, your story for them must be very interesting. And how has that shaped their little world as a parent, like talking about your experiences? They can identify with classmates and other kids.
Oh, they do. But, you know, being a parent isn't what makes me a parenting expert. My wife and I were actually therapeutic foster parents for at-risk youth in the state of Maine.
Oh, interesting.
So before, you know, when we'd only been married for a year, you know, so when most newlyweds are arguing about which barbecue to buy or which couch set, we learned
putting the barbecue together that'll get you divorced.
don't I know?
No, it's directions in the car.
Yes, dear. I'm very well trained, but it was that experience, a very intense experience where, you know, we similar to what you and your husband went through. It was the same for us. Only we had we were in a supported environment. We had counselors, social workers, and a team around us to help support us.
Wow.
But one of the things that I'm very proud of my kids for doing is that inclusion isn't a thing that you do; it's a way of being.
Yes.
Right.
True. That's
and so
exactly right.
if we have to teach our kids about inclusion, when you think about that, it means that we've already taught them to exclude.
Right.
True.
So I'm very proud of my kids and their way of being. They invite their friends to their birthday parties, to gatherings. And it doesn't matter what age, what ability, or perceived disability. It's
all
what relationship. Right. It's are we friends? And if we're friends, then they're invited. And that's what matters, not anything else.
You've taught them well. What fascinates me is that when you hear the word disability, we never think of having any ourselves, which is not true. Because you look at a person like yourself with eyeglasses, your vision's not 100%, so there's a disability. If someone has hearing aids, that's a disability.
Exactly.
If somebody's extremely short and they cannot play basketball because it's a disadvantage to be short, that's a disability. Is that not right? Like, no,
Well,
seriously, like you're not able to come to the ability that you want to be or have the visual ability that you know what I'm saying? Everyone has some disability.
Yes and no. But
Yes.
the trick part
Don't
with
say
that.
no
I'm
to Judy. Did you not get that memo?
I didn't, but I'm sure
No,
I'll
I'm
get an
just
email.
joking. I think people have...
No.
But what happens is we compensate, right? And so
Right.
for, when you think of the brain and our senses, so if somebody experiences,
A stutter.
well, not so much a stutter, but let's say
Well,
one sense is compromised, then another one is heightened,
That's
right? So then
so true.
by way of that perceived disability, they actually become more gifted in a particular area.
Okay,
They're
so
more
if I
sensitive.
was a person that stuttered, what are you going to tell me? How are you going to help me? Like,
Well-
isn't that is a disability, and so I need speech therapy, but I'm still disabled if I can't speak, if I have an impediment.
But there's other ways to communicate.
I know
Right, there would be.
is.
And so for me, in the world that I'm in, would be the world of neurodiversity. So I'm specifically working with individuals on the autism spectrum, ADHD, learning disabilities. So
But
for
you're-
someone with
disabilities
a
you can't quite see to look at
right,
somebody.
right, and so when a speech impediment, that would be a totally different
Yes, it
professional.
is.
So
Okay.
But it's a
I
disability.
stay in my lane.
Okay.
Yes, so you're like I said, with Brody when he was younger, it wasn't a disability that anybody could see.
Right.
To the outside world, I just had an unruly child and I wasn't parenting them correctly.
Yes, you need to take
and
control
that's
of
why
that.
they were behaving that way.
Right.
Right?
You thought that they were just unruly when they actually were.
No, people would think that of me. What a horrible mother. She can't control this child. He's throwing a fit and he's doing this and he's running rampant. And you know what I mean? So it was
yeah.
a reflection on me as my parenting ability. So, that affected me emotionally
Sure.
as well. You know what I mean? So then I would buckle down on him harder. So, right?
Because that's what
That's
we
what
think
I
we
would,
need to do.
yeah, exactly, think to do was, and so I was always, don't do this and don't do that, and just,
Right.
I just felt like I growled him
Nagging all the time.
24/7.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't do this, don't do that. And then I
Taking
took a little
control.
psychology course and I changed it around and said, not to not do those things, but if he was running, I'd be like, walk, walk,
Yeah,
walk,
yeah, yeah.
walk. Saying the things I wanted him to do, as opposed to saying the things I wanted him to stop doing.
Right, and even then it's tricky. And I use my own experience as an example. My in my home, my fireplace, we have a wood burning stove. It's right in the middle of our dining room, and my kids will run past there back and forth, and I'll tell, stop running. But to a certain point, we don't say it for their benefit. We say it for our own. Right? They're not going to stop running. Right? So why is it that I feel the need to keep saying that?
True.
Because I don't. If something were to happen and I didn't say that, I'd feel horrible.
Yeah.
Right? But it's
Exactly.
the realization that it really is not for them, it's for me.
What do you think of all this medication? Is there change in all that from the time that Audrey had her little boy looking at certain medications? What's your take on different medications and helping what these people need it for?
Well, medication is a hot topic, and I don't necessarily promote medication. I share my story and what it did for me, but there are other people who could take the same medication that I take and have adverse reactions to it, right?
right.
So when it comes to medication, it's trial and error.
All right.
Yeah.
It really is.
Can
There's
be a
no one size
tool, is
fits
the way
all.
I look at it. To-
In my case, it most
Yes.
definitely is, right?
Yeah.
It really kind of gave my brain the jump start it needed. I mean, to give people an example, like I tied my shoes the wrong way before I tied them the right way every time.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't remember conversations. I had gaps in my memory. So it's made a world of difference in my life.
I think so.
Yeah.
Like a super
definitely.
achiever
And
guy.
your children are how old?
9 and 7.
9 and 7.
Yeah.
So you would be seeing the big growth spurt in them and their abilities to pick up and learn and
Oh, and
you know?
they're incredible.
Incredible,
Really?
like the daddy.
They really are. They're little whizzes. But in other ways too, compassionate and
Yes, that's so important that you've
empathy and they're just such
like you said, inclusion with.
So do they know these terms?
Oh,
Like
yeah,
ADHD and autism
yeah,
and what
yeah.
all of that is?
My kids are probably the only kids I know that will randomly chant "Hey hey ho ho, the patriarchy's got to go." Like they're very socially conscious. My wife's a social worker,
Yes.
so this is again it's a way of being.
fabulous.
It's not what I talk about is not something that I expect other people to do. These are things that I experience every day.
Exactly.
My
That's just it.
gosh,
Well,
you've
we want-
achieved an awful lot.
Yeah,
It's
we want to
exciting
thank Shawn so much for coming on the show again today
Thank you
and
for having
telling
me. I
us
appreciate it.
all about what's going on with your program. And you have a website and a
do.
Facebook page.
Big connections now.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can follow me on Twitter, and I've got a YouTube channel. I'm everywhere. If you're on there, you can find me.
Yes,
Unreal.
definitely. We have more
Thanks,
have a chat coming up after the break. We have joining us Brianne Tozer and Mayor Adam Lorden will be joining us as well. They're going to be talking to us about the MYPIE Association. It's a big gala that's coming up here in Miramichi. Don't go away. We'll be back more with Have a Chat after the break. Welcome back to Have a Chat. We were just having a great conversation with Shawn Smith, who was telling us all about his Facebook page and his organization with the Don't Diss My Ability. Fantastic, great
It's
conversation
so interesting.
there. Definitely.
He's such a smart guy.
Yeah,
Yes.
he is. Up next, we have Brianne Tozer joining us
Welcome.
and Mayor Adam Lorden. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thanks for joining us. You're here to talk to us a little bit about the MYPIE organization that you guys are both members of. But first, we'd like to hear about you.
Okay, well, I'm Brianne Tozer, as you said, and I grew up here in Miramichi. I went to school in Sunny Corner, left to go to university. I did a couple of degrees while I was living in Fredericton in business and education. And then when I came back to the river, I was only home about 6 months, and then I got involved in MYPIE.
Yeah, and you have your own company, right?
Yes,
Tell
yes,
us
I
about
work
that.
here. I work in heavy civil construction, greenfield construction, and in business development and human resources.
Good for
So,
you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Definitely. And
Welcome, Mayor Lorden.
Yes.
hello again.
Thank you. It's always nice to be here
It
with you ladies.
is so nice to have you again.
And to be here with Brianne today is really nice as well. So, of course, I'm the mayor.
Yes.
And but I also am an entrepreneur, which is always worth reminding people.
That's
so,
right.
You know, like Brianne, I went to Halifax and got a business degree at St. Mary's University in marketing and management, and spent some time living and working in Toronto as well in media. And a few years ago, I also found myself at home, and now I freelance. I work for myself as a producer and director, and for different companies all across Canada still, and
Something. So busy.
but home based here in Miramichi. So of course, contributing to the community in a few ways, and one of the first groups I got involved with when I got back was MYPIE. So we're glad to be here today and glad to be spreading the good word.
Now, Judy and I both have heard of MYPIE, and I'm pretty sure
Yes.
you're quite heavily involved with it as well.
Well, I
but-
used to be more so, but then
More
I
so?
got old. These are young
happens.
entrepreneurs.
You're not. You're not.
yeah. Don't just shh.
No.
Okay, so
But were you going to tell us a little bit for those viewers out there who are like MYPIE? What's that? Something to eat?
Yeah.
Something? What?
MYPIE.
Restaurant? It's a restaurant? No.
And that is one of our biggest questions is
Okay.
what does
What
MYPIE
is it?
stand for?
Okay.
Viewers
Because
want to know.
Whenever you know what it is, we tend to call it MYPIE and just keep going and not even think about it.
Okay.
So MYPIE stands for Miramichi Young Professionals and Involved Entrepreneurs. So we're an organization, not-for-profit organization that really focuses, our mission is engage, connect, and support. So bringing young business people, young professionals, young entrepreneurs that are in the area together, offering them that support to succeed, helping them connect with each other. It's really just to be there to support, connect, engage, give them an opportunity to have an outlet, ask questions, engage with other people that are going through similar situations.
Very good.
When it comes to like starting or opening a business?
Absolutely. Starting, opening, expanding, running.
And just being a professional as well. So, you know, a lot of, you know, helping entrepreneurs and supporting entrepreneurs is a big part of our mission, but we run into a lot of people who tell us, well, I heard of MYPIE, but I didn't know if it was for me because I'm a teacher or I'm a nurse.
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
you know, I'm a mechanic at a garage.
Yes.
But all of those people are young professionals.
Okay.
I mean, basically, if you are in Miramichi and you're really of any age, but under, you know, if you consider yourself to be somewhat young, and then this is a group for you, right? Like, so, you know, we want those other professionals who think just because I don't run my business, this isn't for me. That's not true.
No, you still have a career.
Interesting fact.
Absolutely,
Right?
and that's definitely been an ongoing battle for us, is explaining to people it's not just the entrepreneurs,
The
it's
actual
not just
definition.
And
own your own business.
Doors open. It's really
Absolutely.
a lot of it. The networking piece as well is if you're anybody who's ever looking for services. Like I've met you know, my accountant through MYPIE. I've met my you know, people where I take my car through MYPIE.
Yes.
So it's really a good opportunity to see when you're looking for services to what's out there, and just to have people with a similar mindset that you can sort of have some chats and bounce ideas, and every one of the events you learn something.
Well, if there was anybody out there, I couldn't imagine you, like, you know, someone calling you up and wanting some information on how to expand their business or different things like that, or have questions, that you would ask them how old they are first, and you know, to see whether or not you would give them the information. I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Certainly
You're
not.
there to
Certainly not. We're
serve
an
the
open
community.
Well, we
door
don't
and-
push you off the cliff when you
No.
turn 45 or anything. It's
I get
really
the feeling you feel like they might have done that.
But I think it really comes from a place of, in our community, and you look at the demographics, you know,
Right.
we have a lot, it's an aging community.
Yes.
And so young people in this community are a minority, and so it's just to give them an avenue to connect with each other and reach out. And thankfully, we've seen more and more young people coming home and opening businesses,
Thankfully.
and MYPIE's really had, I think, a nice role in that. But it just gives people that rallying point to reach out to peers.
Okay. So when did this all begin? When was MYPIE formed and by whom?
MYPIE was started by a group in 2008.
2008 it was
So we're
formed.
we're in our 9th year, which
Great.
makes us very excited. Not that we're not always excited, but very excited for next year, which will be our 10th anniversary, and
quite
we have
something.
lots of exciting things already
Good.
on the
Planned.
agenda for next year.
That's right.
But no, it started in 2008. Adam and I both became involved 3 years ago now. We were both, somebody reached out to both of us, said, I think this is something you'd be interested in. You should check it out. I'll be honest, I had my hesitations because I did the same thing of, I don't know if it's for me. I'm not sure. Their AGM that year was at the Boulevard. Adam and I both walked in alone, knew absolutely nobody else there.
Okay.
Connected at that moment. We were the first people we met when we walked through the door, and here we are 3 years later. We're the president and vice president of the Boulevard.
MYPIE. You're president, Brienne, and
Yes.
you're the VP.
Yes, and it's just funny how it works, because it, you know, we, like Brienne said, I didn't know anybody. I had just gotten back to Miramichi like a couple of months before, and I was looking to meet people, and kind of took that jump and said, well, I'll go, what the heck. And we connected right away, and we were just laughing, you know, before we came on here when we first got recruited or stepped up to be on the board. And both came on the board. Of course, we were the rookies, and now in our 3 years, Brienne and I
You're
are
at the
now the
top.
veterans.
Interesting.
So, and that's an important part, you know, for MYPIE as an organization, and I think for a lot, is that it's constantly bringing in new people to that board level to bring new ideas and new ways of doing things. So we won't be here forever, but we've really enjoyed being involved.
How many board members did you have?
We have 8 members, and this year is the first year since we've been involved anyway. I don't want to say first year overall, but since we've been involved, that we've had student ambassadors join us from the community college this year.
That's wonderful.
Nice.
So we have 2 non-voting board members that attend all of our board meetings, and it's been really a great experience, gives us a whole another perspective.
Exactly.
And that group that's coming out of school, coming into the business community.
Yeah, young, fresh minds, innovative,
it's been
creative.
Great.
Well, and to let them know that there is this network out there for them, because they've got lots of ideas when they're in school, and we hope that they'll choose to stay in Miramichi, whether it's to work at a business or to start a business. So we want them to feel supported and encouraged.
So in what way are things progressing with MYPIE since 2008? Have you seen all the strides that you've made? Could you just remark on some of them?
We've seen a lot of changes in these last 3 years. MYPIE was always something I watched a little bit from a distance while I was in school. I knew of it, wasn't overly involved because I was living away at the time. But since we've been involved, a lot has changed, and we try to find what works best for people currently.
Yes, and you being the mayor as well, that's so interesting that you can oversee, be part of MYPIE. Because, as the mayor, you're looking at all the businesses, both sides of the river, all around the Miramichi, and you're seeing what's needed.
Well, you might have some inside information.
Well, I mean, you can promote this because you're always drawing in your council new members to Miramichi City, and you're always trying to gain new people.
Well, you're also wanting to make sure as a mayor that people know what we have in the community and that they're supported and to connect people.
Right.
And MYPIE's mission is very similar. And before I was the mayor or even involved in council, I was involved here. And a big part of being a young mayor is that you want to encourage the younger generation to get involved in the community, whether that's running a business, starting a business, or avenues to get involved in the community in a charitable component, which MYPIE does, a lot of charity work as well. So it's kind of a great way to bring a profile and a presence to young people in the community to be involved with MYPIE and also to be the mayor. And,
yes.
And, I'm telling people everywhere I go in both roles about all of the wonderful businesses that have been started in just the last couple of years by young people in the community. And they're really evolving the offerings in the community. And it's funny as MYPIE board members when we're constantly trying to recruit the next generation. So we're, even as veterans in MYPIE saying, well, what is it that the 21 and 22-year-olds want and need from this organization? And having the students really helps with that. But,
for sure, they're the voice.
They're always out there. There's always a need, and it's just to bring people together. But we think that there's a momentum, and we're excited.
Absolutely. Yeah. Something we've started new this year, we've done a few things. We kicked the year off with a survey for both members and non-members to try and gather some information and get a little bit more of a handle on what people actually want to do.
Good.
What day of the week, what type of events, what do you want to hear about? What are you really looking for to come out? And we did it as an anonymous survey because I think people are much quicker to step up and fill it out versus if they have to sit there and tell you what they're thinking, right?
I agree.
They don't necessarily want to take the ownership of, especially criticizing something.
That's true.
But we got a lot of great information about that, and we've started to work off of that. We started MYPIE Mentor Moments this year. We've done 2 so far.
Yeah, and they've been incredible.
They've been great successes where we've brought in, our first guest speaker was Jean Fowler with Lugaroo,
yes.
Who was also an award winner at our gala last year, so it was a nice...
And rightly so.
Nice circle.
He's done so well.
So he was a guest speaker for us, as well as the Summers family, Hal, Josh, and Justin.
Okay, yeah.
Town Auto Group.
Yes.
So it's been really great, and we've had a great turnout at those events, and we're looking forward to another one coming up here soon.
And the idea with that is to get seasoned business professionals in the community to share some of their insight. And to encourage, and there's a Q&A at these sessions as well. So whether it's Jean, who was really genuine about the trials and tribulations of running a business, that going through the tough times and rebuilding back to where he is now and in an incredibly successful position with the new company, and with Hal and Josh and Justin talking a little bit about family business and succession planning. And those events have been really well attended, which means that's the kind of thing people are looking for. Is
Move
to
forward
and it's great to see the older generation of business people in the community reaching down to help support the younger.
I love it.
And,
so
we've got,
as well as seeing the younger ones want to look up to the older ones to see how they did it, and
So we think we're going to do one more of those, most likely in November to end the year.
Okay.
And of course the gala's coming up.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that because that's taking the professionals and recognizing them and giving them the recognition they deserve for all of their hard work.
Is the word out as to who your chosen recipients?
Yes,
this year?
They are. We have 5 awards this year.
Ah.
We have Professional of the Year, which is Ryan Tracy, who is the manager at the Miramichi Golf Club.
Right.
We have Entrepreneur of the Year, which is Jeff Morris, who owns and operates both Deals for You and Morris Wholesales.
Okay, wonderful.
We have Community Champion, who is Victor Summers,
Yay.
who is
Isn't that great?
involved across the board, I think, in the community. He's an excellent representation for Community Champion.
Certainly is.
Customer service, we have Lori Matchett, who is a real estate agent.
Right.
And New Business.
Is
the Clay Cafe this year.
That's right.
Wow, and they're all so valuable to me too, because I know each one of those people that you're talking about, and if I was on the selection committee, I think I'd be putting them right there in the same place.
So we're very, very excited about the gala. Tickets are still available. We still have a few left.
The date?
This Saturday.
Okay.
Yep, September 23rd at the Riverside Entertainment Center.
Okay.
It's a great event. We've changed the format up of that as well, because why not change up everything, keep it new and keep it fresh?
Why not?
Right.
Yeah, so we have cocktail hour at 7, from 7 till 8. 8 o'clock we sit to give out the awards, and we are very committed to it being an hour-long ceremony. We don't like it to drag on, so we have networking and cocktails 7 to 8, 8 to 9 is awards, and at 9 we've got DJ coming in, DJ Dave, for a dance. And in the past they've usually gone with bands, but we had DJ Dave on our MYPIE boat cruise this summer on the Max Aiken, and it was, everybody loved him, loved the atmosphere, and
dance their night away.
And it's funny, in this community there's live music happening all the time, which is phenomenal, but you're hard pressed to sort of find a DJ dance night. So
I think it's
and
a great
looking
idea.
at what's not being offered out there, we thought we'll give this a go, and we're very excited for DJ Dave.
That makes me laugh, just on a side note, because at the play I attended with my parents, it was an older generation that was there, obviously with those names being Johnny Cash and Carl Perkins and Elvis. So when Jerry Lee Lewis said, would you get up out of the audience and shake, rattle, and roll, I mean, some of them were hard-pressed to move, let alone shake, rattle, and roll, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. They couldn't get up real fast because they were older people, but he was just rocking, and he wanted us to all rock with him.
I bet you rocked with him, Judy.
You know what I did. I hope there's no videos or any coverage of that,
I'm like the picture perfect groupie.
No, I did get up
I'd
and
be
dance.
right down front and center.
Yeah,
I am.
Yeah, I wasn't front and center, but I sure shook what I had. Yeah.
No.
So I think that's a great venue. First of all, it holds a lot of people, and you expect a good crowd.
We do.
And so September 23rd, this Saturday evening, and cocktails, and the awards, and then the dance.
And even if people can't make it out for the formal part of the event, the dance is open to everybody.
Oh,
so
nice.
you can just purchase a ticket just for the dance, and
Okay.
come
That's
join us around 9:30. We'll
That's
be.
an excellent
And you
Very
get the
well
tickets at
speaking.
Riverside Entertainment Center or through MyPie?
You can get them through the MyPie website, or MyPie email, sorry.
MyPie
Right,
email.
MyPieNetwork@gmail.com.
Say it again, Brianne. So MyPie.
MyPieNetwork@gmail.com.
Okay.
Or at Town Hill Jewelry and Gifts
In Newcastle.
in Newcastle, yes.
Right.
Or you can reach out to any one of our board members. The website mypie.ca has all the board members listed, and we're, whether it's you're looking for gala tickets or you're ever looking for help or any more information, you can always reach out to all of us.
I have to MC an event that night at the Rod for a district Rotary conference. It's going to be a big one, or I would be with my dancing shoes on.
Yes, I bet you would be.
I would be.
Well, if you get done early, Judy, come on over for a dance.
I can
That's
have
right. I don't think
energy.
they're closing up anytime soon. So you
No. Maybe around midnight.
No, exactly. Well, we want to thank you so much, Mayor Adam Lorden and Brianne Tozer, for joining us today and telling us all about the MyPie and the gala that's coming up. So we wish you great success, and we look forward to hearing to what's coming up in the future with new businesses here in Miramichi.
All the best.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Likewise.
We want to say thank you to our viewers for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again next week. Thanks for joining us here at Have a Chat. Take care. We'll see you again.